From South Carolina Public Radio, this is the South Carolina Lede. I'm your host, Gavin Jackson, and this episode was recorded on October 20th, 2025 from South Carolina Public Radio Studios here in Columbia. On this episode of The Lede, we take you to the No Kings Day protest rally in Columbia, where thousands gathered on Saturday. We also jump on the campaign trail with Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette in Newberry, and look at the redistricting efforts going on across the country, including in nearby North Carolina. And the federal government remains shut down. I also have a personal secret to share in the wind down.
All right.
Which you can be a part of if you call 803-563-7169. Share your secrets. We can tell secrets in the wind down. Or we can talk about things that aren't so intense. Not that all secrets are intense, but some are. AT's going to talk about crime. Yeah, it sounds like he might be running for office soon, folks. 803-563-7169. If you're running for office, do not call the wind down. You can text us, but it's not a place to go stumping. 803-563-7169. October's almost over, but fall is still here because you insisted. And that's why I'm sick. Let's look at what's on tap this week at the State House. On Wednesday, the House Economic Development, Transportation, and Natural Resources Subcommittee on the Government Efficiency and Legislative Oversight Committee meets on Wednesday. God, we need a long acronym for that one. And on Thursday, the SCDOT Modernization Ad Hoc Committee meets at Central Carolina Technical College in Sumter. And in Congress, well, the government remains shut down, so maybe another Senate vote, but the House is still out. In fact, the federal government has been shut down now for 20 days. It's the longest full shutdown ever. Previous ones were partial shutdowns, this full-blown. Now, at the heart of the shutdown is the Affordable Care Act insurance subsidies that will expire soon as the November 1st open enrollment period is set to start. Republicans only want a clean continuing resolution passed, while Democrats see this as their opportunity to get the enhanced tax credits extended. Federal employees have not been paid as hundreds of thousands of essential workers continue to work with no end to the shutdown in sight. Meanwhile, the president is set to leave for Asia later this week, and the House has been out of session since September 19th. There's not even committee work happening behind the scenes. The House is out. So this is going to cause even more problems as the backlog builds. Speaking of the ACA, there are 630,000 South Carolinians enrolled in the marketplace. Now, without these subsidies, an average policy for a family of four making $90,000 would jump by $300 a month, or $3,735 annually. This, according to KFF. Republicans have called for reforms to the subsidies and have said illegal immigrants are using the system despite them not being eligible for the subsidies. But nothing can be done because the government is shut down. Let's go to the No Kings Day protest, where Columbia was one of the some 2,600 locations across the country that participated in the rallies. There were protests listed along the coast from Bluffton to Myrtle Beach, inland in Florence and Somerville, Waterboro, Seneca, Rock Hill, and Indianland. In fact, there are 16 total No Kings Day protests in our state. Columbia was by far the largest, with, I'd say, some 4,000 folks in attendance. It's just my eyeballs doing math. I think it was like that. I mean, I've seen some State House protests, thousands of people, especially on a Saturday that featured the Soda City Market in downtown, the State Fair, and a USC home game against Oklahoma that kicked off an hour before the rally. Oh, and did I mention it was gorgeous outside? Really was an easy sell for me to get out there and spend time talking to folks. People parked blocks away from the State House and walked with their signs and folding chairs to the North Lawn, where protesters held signs eliciting near nonstop honks from motorists driving up and down Gervais Street. There were also chants going as folks held their signs and waved flags, and many of those signs had clever, witty sayings on them and some different words that I can't say on this podcast. But again, a lot of folks just out there, good-natured, happy, friendly, no one trying to burn anything or start some nonsense. As far as I could tell, and as far as I know, nothing did happen. Again, these were loosely organized, and the events were safe and respectful and truly American at the end of the day, because that's basic First Amendment right there. Freedom to assemble and speak freely. And plenty of people did. I was out there with my own Schechter, and we tag-teamed a few interviews with folks who were gathered that day, including Todd Alley of Woodstock, Georgia, and he was visiting from that area, but still wanted to participate in the rallies, and he did with his friend. And I did notice that Alley had a hat on that noted that he was an Army veteran.
As an attorney, I believe in the Constitution and the rule of law, and if you don't have the rule of law, if you don't have equal protection under the law for everybody, you don't have a democracy, you don't have a functioning society. And what I see from the Justice Department, from the administration, the military, all of it is this really fast creep to fascism. And I can't stand by and let that happen. As a veteran, I swore an oath. I was a federal prosecutor for 12 years. I swore an oath to defend the Constitution, and I'm going to do it till the day I die.
I asked him what he made of Speaker Mike Johnson's comments, calling the event a, quote, hate America rally, quote, and also Johnson saying that there'd be Hamas supporters, Antifa types, Marxists, and people who don't want to stand to defend the foundational truths of this republic. Here's how Alley responded.
Nothing that comes out of Mike Johnson's mouth is the truth. It's all propaganda. All you've got to do is take 1 minute and step into this crowd, and you will see nothing having to do with Hamas, no terrorists. You just see good people. I've seen veterans. I've seen people from the protest generation, the 60s and 70s. I've seen young people, all spectrums, all races, all genders, all sexual orientations, whatever. So what you see and what Mike Johnson would see if he got out of Washington and took a look is America. That's what you see here. I'm a Republican. I voted for President Bush. I voted for Mitt Romney. I've not voted for Trump. And truthfully, I sat on the sidelines, and I regret that I did that now. But yeah, I've been a Republican my whole life. But I cast a vote for Kamala Harris, and I'll be casting votes for blue candidates from here on out.
Sarah Anders was holding a sign that said, "You know it's bad when I pass up free football tickets," as she passed up free tickets to the Oklahoma game to attend the rally.
Inspired because I actually got offered tickets to a football game yesterday for the family and was tempted to take it, and my husband said, "What do you think's more important?" So that's why I'm here. Really could have been at the game, would have been at the game, but this feels important and want to be a part of it. The things that are happening in terms of immigration, the things with women's rights, all of the things that are happening in this country, the rule of law really is something that 5 years ago I didn't even know what rule of law meant, and it's so sad to me how much that has eroded. And there's so many things that have happened where I have said, they can't do that. That's not possible. Surely that couldn't be something that's happening. And yet things just seem to escalate and progress. So I just think it's important to be out here.
Now, a little sad note, USC did lose to Oklahoma 26-7. I also didn't go, clearly. I'm hearing it was pretty ugly. Now, people came with friends and family, and some even came alone. I was with several people sitting in the shade of the State House on the north steps, listening and looking at the crowd. You saw people, I saw one guy dressed as Batman, someone dressed as Captain America. They were in inflatable outfits. And I think many were drawn to this event as a cathartic experience, a release of the daily deluge of seemingly nonstop changes to societal and political norms under the second Trump administration that has seen National Guard troops being deployed to cities across the United States as masked federal authorities arrest illegal and legal immigrants, including American citizens alike, with and without warrants. The arrests and other concerning escalations of the executive branch, enabled by Republican majorities in Congress, brought out more than 4,000 folks, as I mentioned. There were speeches at the rally, including by organizer Sam Gibbons, who said the turnout from the protest in March till now showed that the movement was only growing stronger.
No kings! No oligarchs! Let us uphold our value of inclusion and accessibility and leave the othering and division to them. Which takes me back to today and our role in a deep red state. Our existence, our love, our growing size flies in the face of their accusations, their propaganda, their hate. They are to keep their supporters in line and looking away as they violate the Constitution. They are counting on us. They need us to falter and to be who they say that we are. Johnson says that this is a hate America rally. It is my view that we're trying to stop executive overreach and protect the Constitution.
Marco Torri, a doctor participating in his own personal capacity on Saturday, held a sign that said, in part, "Save the CDC." He told me about his concerns for public health amid funding cuts and health skeptics like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. heading organizations like the Department of Health and Human Services, as well as the cuts and layoffs made to organizations like the CDC.
I am tired of seeing the country I love go in the direction that it shouldn't be. I'm tired of seeing kids in South Carolina with measles because we have an anti-vaxxer leading the Department of Health and Human Services. I'm tired of seeing science be dismissed and policy be based on people's feelings instead of what's right and what science and truth tells us. So we have less and less science to base public health decisions on. We have less expertise in the government, or whether those are career scientists at CDC or here in South Carolina. We need more dollars in health. We lost a lot of people to funding pullbacks and the government clawing back money it already promised and sent actually. So it just is going to be a mess this winter, and for flu season, for RSV, we already have measles outbreak, so we can and should do better.
Eventually, Gervais Street was closed, so the horn honking died down. And that's something that typically happens when there's a lot of pedestrian activity outside the State House or a protest like this was about to march down Main Street, which they did. Now, there were thousands of protesters that headed down the tree-lined Main Street that hours before was full of vendors and visitors to Soda City Market as they walked the 1.3 miles to the governor's mansion. It's a little bit further than you think it is. I didn't make it all the way, but I was marching with folks, and you saw restaurant workers come out to take photos with their camera phones, as well as college students. You know, some of the girls dressed in their day dresses and cowboy boots as they walked by sign-carrying protesters as they dipped into Market on Main, where people were enjoying their sun-soaked Saturday outdoors, watching college football on big screens, sipping libations, just your typical Saturday downtown. But back at the State House, there were still speeches going on by some candidates running for U.S. Senate. Other folks milled about. I spoke with Karen from Lake City, who was sitting in a folding chair on the sidewalk out front of the State House with a sign that read, "I don't feel radical, more like a good American." Here's what she told me.
I was a Republican for a long time. I grew up in a very conservative Christian family. I am still a Christian, but I guess I lean more Democratic now. But, you know, I don't think anybody's really totally speaking for me. So I speak for myself. We're not evil. We just want what's good for the country, and we don't think what's going on is good for the country or anybody trying to come to America as well.
Karen said she's been to several protests, and Saturdays raised her spirits after what's been an exhausting several months.
We've been to every protest we can get to since January, and this has been amazing. The people going by have been really supportive, and I think I was telling my husband that I'm smiling. My face hurts from smiling so much today. It's really inspiring.
Then I headed back to my car a few blocks away on Senate Street, where it was just like any other fall day. A bicycle zoomed by me on the sidewalk as a wedding party left a nearby church down the street. Life kept on. Life found a way. Next up on the campaign trail, Lieutenant Governor Pam Evette was on the trail last week with several stops in McCormick, Camden, Horry, Walterboro, and in Newberry County, which is where I caught up with her Thursday in the small town of Prosperity. In fact, there's about 50 people with the county Republican Party gathered into the Prosperity Civic Center to hear Evette speak and take questions. I never knew that I had been to Prosperity, but I have been to Prosperity.
Wow.
In fact, that same room.
Oh, wow, man.
When Florida Governor Ron DeSantis was up here stumping around. So I'm like, oh, I have been to Prosperity now twice.
Wow.
And I hope to go back soon because it's really cute. But this county by county approach that Evette has been doing is to get a jump on some of her rivals as she's trying to get close to having visited all 46 counties first. Something that no other campaign will be able to brag about, but they're getting close. So stay tuned for that big announcement. But Evette continues to tell her story of growing her own HR/payroll business with her husband and also being an early supporter of President Donald Trump and being picked out of a relative obscurity in the business world to be Governor Henry McMaster's running mate for the 2018 election. Evette uses that McMaster connection to make her case and her reason for leading the state as a steady hand that will build upon the extensive legislative and political accomplishments of her predecessor. She was asked several questions, including one on mid-cycle redistricting ahead of the 2026 midterms.
It was interesting when this came up here in South Carolina because we only have one Democrat. If you start messing with that district, you may open up a lot of districts. So I could never understand when Congressman Norman made such a hay about it. Governor Abbott has a lot of districts that are in question. Can you imagine if all of a sudden that district started getting divided up. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong because it was challenged and the court upheld it. But you would be literally inviting the Democratic Party to come into South Carolina to try to win those districts. And Chad knows, he's shaking his head yes. There would be no limit on the amount of money they would bring into this state to try to get more Democrat congressmen in their ranks. So I say if you're going to do that, you better really do your homework. You better go in there with a scalpel and not a chainsaw. And I think Governor Abbott is in a totally different situation than we are here in South Carolina. We are blessed to be such a red conservative state.
While it was a small meeting, 5th District Congressman Ralph Norman, who's also running for governor, saw about 70 so folks turn out in August, according to the party. Now, Evette was asked about several things like property taxes and public health officials, including DPH Acting Director Dr. Ed Simmer, as well as concerns over China buying up farmland, her religious faith, and infrastructure needs, including on load-restricted bridges.
I've sat down with Secretary Powell. He's going to ask this year, and I'm going to ask the General Assembly to approve it for $300 million to expedite all bridges here in South Carolina that are under road restriction. Because what that's doing is it's stopping our businesses by having to reroute their trucks. It's costing them a lot of money to do that. And so we have got to accelerate what we're doing to get our roads fixed. So there is a lot of people making a lot of effort to get it done. We have a lot of roads. I can promise you, as frustrating as the road situation can be, if the road you drive on is not getting paved today, it is more, I can tell you that we are more than doing our share of working. There are orange barrels all over this state.
And that was Pam Evette there in Prosperity last week. But keeping with the campaign trail, let's look at SCO1, the Low Country district that Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace is vacating in her run for governor. Mac Defford, a U.S. Coast Guard veteran and lawyer, is one of the Democrats running for the nomination down there. Defford raised over $100,000 in the third quarter, significantly more than other Democrats in the race, but below the formidable Republicans running. More than 84% of contributions came from South Carolina with an average donation of under $100, something Defford's campaign says shows broad local support for his message of accountability and common sense leadership. So like we said, he raised $104,000 and has $51,000 on hand per FEC filings. Other Democratic candidates include Mayra Rivera Vasquez, who raised $39,000 and has $25,000 on hand, as well as Max Elliott Diaz, who raised $411 and has $85 on hand. The only other Democrat, Max Fulmer, has no financial data reported. And just for a comparison, while looking at the Republicans in this race, Dr. Sam McCowan has raised $1 million, so some of that is also through a loan that he gave himself to the tune of $865,000. And Republican Mark Smith, the former state representative, has raised $369,000, and that's including a loan of $150,000 to himself. So just a little comparison to the Republican side. Those are the two top dollar guys on the Republican side compared to the Democratic side, where we're talking about Mac Defford having about $100,000 raised and $51,000 on hand. Uphill battle in SCO1, which is strong red, as we know. But just a little tidbit for the Defford campaign. On October 29th and the 30th, Defford will be joined by former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley, who most recently served as Commissioner of the Social Security Administration and ran to chair the DNC. He's going to have town halls in Charleston and on Hilton Head to discuss economic issues and the future of Social Security later this month. Speaking of redistricting and gerrymandering, all things map-related, North Carolina Republicans are introducing a bill this week that would redraw congressional maps to give them an electoral advantage in 11 of the state's 14 House districts. WUNC reports that right now Republicans are strongly favored in 10 seats and Democrats in 3. There is one swing district in northeastern North Carolina, currently held by Representative Don Davis, a Democrat. Meanwhile, Democrat Governor Josh Stein wrote in a statement Monday that, quote, "The General Assembly works for North Carolina, not Donald Trump. The Republican leadership in the General Assembly has failed to pass a budget, failed to pay our teachers and law enforcement what they deserve, and failed to fully fund Medicaid. Now they are failing you, the voters. These shameless politicians are abusing their power to take away yours." Quote. Now, under North Carolina's Constitution, Stein, who's a Democrat, is unable to veto maps redistricting legislative or congressional districts. That means the new map would only need to clear the House and the Senate, where Republicans hold significant majorities to become law. Of course, the U.S. House, where Republicans hold 220 to a 215 advantage, and 3 of those seats are currently vacant, including 2 held by Democrats and 1 by a Republican. This comes as Texas and Missouri have passed new maps. In California, voters are already casting ballots on Proposition 50, which would let the legislature redraw the state's congressional districts through 2030 to create 5 more seats favorable to Democrats, which would then negate the 5 new Republican districts in Texas. See, we're playing this game here, folks. Now, similar efforts are also underway by Republicans in Indiana and Ohio, and by Democrats in Illinois, Maryland, and New York. Welcome to the wind down section, our little break from the news. We're glad you're here. This is our chance to talk with you, me, and lead podcast producer A.T. Shire.
Oh, thank you for having me, Gavin. Before we get into calls and texts, you have some personal
special
news.
Announcement.
Yeah. Let's get this out. Let's get this at the very top here.
The annual pumpkin spice latte was purchased.
It's been
Friday.
had, yes.
And I thank you. You know, it's always like a big journey for me.
Yep.
And I don't always, I wait. I only have one. It's very exclusive. And of course, I pay for it with rewards because it's a ridiculous
You're
drink.
not spending real American money on it.
I don't want to use,
Yeah.
Also, if you look into it, it's a venti. I get a venti because whatever.
Is that the biggest? Is that big?
Yeah, that's nice and big.
Yeah, well, you're a big guy. So
I'm a big guy, but I don't get the whipped cream because, come on, I'm not insane.
No.
But at the same time, there's only one shot of espresso in a normal venti pumpkin spice latte, which is a crime. It should be like 4. So I add on like 4 more shots.
Good for
just to get you gotta get the bang for the buck. Does it compromise the flavor palette? Maybe
Possibly.
a little bit.
Possibly.
But it's worth it because you get the go-go juice, and that's at the end of the day what it's
I gotta
all about.
say, I think you spoke about how great the weather was. I think you waited to the perfect.
It was
is
so
fall.
perfect.
It is fall.
I had my jeans on.
Yeah.
I had my comfy cashmere sweater on.
Oh, this is a brag.
It was because we weren't
It's
working on
turning into a
Friday.
brag. Yeah.
And then I was like, I got my pumpkin spice. I'm like, I'm gonna go shopping now. And then I went out to Harbison, and oh my God, there's no good time to go out to Harbison.
Yeah, you can ruin a good mood real fast out there.
They did. And then I'm walking around Nordstrom Rack.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'm hot because I got jeans and a sweater on like a fool. It's
never
78 degrees outside, cosplaying as like a basic. And I was like, what am I doing here? So I got home, put shorts on like a real adult.
Thank you. Yeah, we live in South Carolina.
I mean, come on. Who was I trying to
Anyway,
be?
Gavin, we got some texts, we got some calls, and the first text I would say is some constructive criticism of the show.
I'll take it.
So here we go. This is what we got from an anonymous texter. Once again, your Republican bias shows itself. You discuss the upcoming elections in our state of South Carolina by talking about the Republican candidates by name and with some details. About some races, you mentioned no candidates from other parties. Concerning one race, you talked about the Republican candidates and simply mentioned that there were also some Democrats running, none mentioned by name. As a listener, I would like you to inform me as fully as possible about everyone who is running for office, at least mentioning their names. You are hereby challenged to complete this task.
Have fun.
That's the end. I like the little fun addendum at the end, and I thank you for that, listener.
Yes.
Thank you for listening also.
At the end of the day, like, I get it. Everyone wants to be represented, but at the same time, it's only so much space and so much bandwidth in a sense. And again, I'm not picking winners or losers here. But if you're not making us aware of your candidacy in the first place and then also demanding us recognize you, it's kind of hard to make that case that you're even a viable candidate.
I trust Gavin to give me news I can use.
Once we get down closer to things and once, things kind of bubble to the top,
the
then
field
we do,
shake out. Yeah,
you do that. But we're so far away from so many different things that it's not me being dismissive or biased by any means because that's a tough word. We don't really throw our bias around here.
No.
But it's always good if you have Republicans calling you a Democrat and Democrats calling you Republicans, if I generalize there. That's where we like to be.
We're trying to
we
thread
like
this
to be right
needle.
there.
We want everyone to hate us. Anyway, Thank you for the criticism. We take it. We smiled right on the chin. Gavin, moving on, we got a call from someone who was with you at the protest. Wow. Are you ready?
Wow.
Here we go.
Hey, guys. It's Grandma from Greenville. I'm headed to Columbia this morning. So excited and no King's rally. Just want to put out there that this is a rally for all people, all Americans. If you believe in democracy, head down to Columbia or find a place near you and stand up for your rights. And I heard your podcast last night. I was just shocked by the comment Senator Scott made about not wanting to negotiate in the media. That was rich, considering that's what President Trump does. That's where he gets his instructions from his president. Anyway, that was really rich. I hope to see everybody out there. I'm excited that we're having it. And, well, I hope to see Lindsey Graham out there so I can have a little conversation with him as well. Anyway, it's Michelle from Greenville. I got your instructions, Evan. We're not supposed to touch you, but if you weren't so darn good looking, we wouldn't want to touch you. Anyway, I hope to see you there. Safe travels and take care.
I hate that I didn't get to see you, Grandma Michelle from Greenville. I would have let you give me a hug.
Just one touch, Karen.
We saw a lot of our listeners out there. I talked to you. It was good to see you. In fact, Dr. Tori was like, oh, Gavin Jackson Lede. I was like, oh.
Yeah, LEDE. Yeah, that's me.
We're tracking. Or you'd see people, giving us some shout outs for NPR and supporting us. So thank you, everyone that saw us, that said hi.
Amazing.
Even got on the podcast,
Yeah.
It was very fun. Oh, that's you. Oh, that's you.
Oh,
yes,
Gavin
that's
Jackson.
Me.
Yeah. It's probably when you took off your hat to run your hand through your
bah!
hair. Yeah. Whooshing. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
The light
That's probably-
reflecting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we didn't get to run into her, but it was good. It's always helps the job when everyone at an event kind of knows you.
Yeah, it's perfect. That's lovely. Thank you for calling.
Yeah.
And Gavin, moving on to me.
Finally.
Quite frankly, finally. I want to talk about crime, okay? Most crime today you're hearing about. You're hearing about.
You might hear about crime these days.
Security breaches, like data leaks, and all this boring blah blah.
Ransomware.
The more I hear about this Louve crown jewel heist,
The heist.
Gavin, I am loving this crime.
People
okay,
they need it.
First of all, I love a heist movie. Okay?
I'm catching your Tokyo drift.
Exactly. Thank you very much. You know what we need for this heist?
An Italian job?
Precision drivers. Okay, folks.
Mini Coopers.
I absolutely love this. I want to learn how they put this team together.
Oh, we'll find out in a series soon.
An absolute sick movie,
Yeah.
though. More than
It's gonna be
anything.
too good to keep quiet.
What I want to see is someone explaining the heist, and as they explain it, a stylized cutscene where the heist is happening in real. You're gonna be in the
Is there too
Louvre
much to ask
Museum.
for?
Thank you. You're gonna be in the Apollo wing. You know what I mean?
Someone's gonna be like, well, actually, with AI, and you're like, oh,
So I'm glad you mentioned this,
because
Gavin.
AI can now do exactly what you want with Sora.
I'm gonna say, crown jewel thief is a job that no AI could ever replace. Okay, I think this is an amazing thing.
You're supporting crime.
Who knows? I'm just fascinated by this. This is a real throwback. This is like a 1930s crime,
Thomas Crown Affair.
I mean, speak of no kings. These are kingly jewels and queenly jewels.
Who's
right?
complaining about this, right?
It's not that I think crime is good. It's just that when crime is so digital and lame all the time, this throwback crime
guy
just
loves
feels
crime.
better to hear about,
Yeah. Oh,
I'm
old
very
school.
fascinated.
Yeah, because, some thought went into it. They spent time thinking about
Absolutely.
this. It wasn't a smash and grab. They put some time into it. They banked on the French for taking
Yep, exactly.
late mornings,
Yep,
I
yep.
assume. I'm making a lot of broad assumptions here, but I think they did too, and I think it paid out.
God, this is a very romantic crime to me. Retro is in. This is such a retro crime. I'm loving it. Okay, hashtag I'm loving it. I think I came up with that.
Because we have the Thomas Crown Affair thing for that. So
Yes.
or
which is
How to Catch a Thief?
Sleeper heist movie. The Bank Job. Great movie. Jason Statham.
To Catch a Thief.
Yeah.
Cary Grant, Grace Kelly.
That
my
starts with a
God.
heist, right?
Well, he's framed, you see, but it goes by traces his roots as a cat burglar. Same genre as a heist guy, but way more.
That's a lone wolf.
Way more chic and sophisticated. Oh, I'm just a little Miley.
Jazz
cat
is
burglar.
definitely playing while he does it.
Oh yeah, I mean you should
Gavin's
see Cary.
doing
You
it.
should see Cary Grant in this. He's wearing like ballet flats. And
I bet when he
so
tiptoes,
slim
it goes.
Actually, I think I don't want to ruin it for you.
I don't want to ruin it.
But he gets, it's a classic.
All right, folks, call us in your favorite crimes.
Tell us about you. To Catch a Thief.
Okay, folks.
Who did it? Tell us if you were the one who broke into the Louvre.
You can tell
Let
us
us know.
here.
This is a safe
they don't
space.
have
We won't turn you in,
jurisdiction. Yep,
but I can guarantee that someone listening might not.
Sorry.
It wasn't us. Let us know if you're the cat burglar. The Louve cat burglar, 803-563-7169, an exclusive hotline for you to call and confess on how you did it. AT needs to know. Or if you're not the cat burglar, you can be like Grandma from Greenville and give us a shout, 803-563-7169. We love that. And stay up to date with the latest news on SCETV.org and SouthCarolinaPublicRadio.org. And don't forget to support your local newspapers. The South Carolina Lede is a production of South Carolina Public Radio. Our producer is A.T. Shire. Amy Crouch is our supervising producer. Sean Birch is our executive producer. This podcast is produced with support from PRX and is made possible in part by a grant from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, as well as listener contributions to the ETV Endowment of South Carolina. For the South Carolina Lede, I'm Gavin Jackson. Be well, South Carolina.
I'm really a good boy. Some say the best.
No, I mean, I've downloaded plenty of things.
I download plenty of things. I had Napster.